Hi, welcome back to Engine Shop Joe. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Share the channel with your friends if you think it'll help them. Tonight we're going to talk about DEF pumps again because last week we touched on fault code 3559 and you saw that the DEF pump problem wasn't the DEF pump. And so there's other times when DEF pumps are replaced and the DEF pump isn't the problem. We recently had a problem on a machine where the DEF pump was shutting down, and then we had SCR operator inducements. And when I got the fault information with the snapshots, I noticed that the DEF pressure was not steady in the snapshot, and the non-UL2 pump, that's the old big square one like we looked at last week, that pump usually runs pretty much dead on 132.5 psi, and it might be plus or minus 0.5 psi on a tight system. By tight, I mean there's no air getting in the DEF fluid anywhere, and there's no problem with the pump or the wiring. And so this case, they were having on and off problems with the DEF pump, with it shutting down, and then SCR faults. And the ECM was actually shutting the DEF pump down. The DEF pump can't shut itself down. And the reason it was because the pressure was so unstable that it can't successfully meter DEF precisely when the pressure spikes are 20, 30, 40 psi. So in the snapshot I got, I saw DEF fluid pressure anywhere between 84 psi and then 128, 136, 122. So you get the idea. It was all over the place. So this particular job, the customer put a new DEF pump on it, and then he sent me this video and stated that the DEF pump's making a lot of noise. You know, what do we think it is? And he had an idea, but he just kind of wanted to get someone to agree with him. And he was right, by the way. So let's take a look at what this was, and then I'll tell you how they fixed it. I was sent that video because after the failed DEF pump was replaced and they had installed the new pump and they were running the after treatment diesel exhaust fluid pressure test to prime the pump, it was making that knocking noise. And they suspected that it was air, and I suspect that it was air too. So what's an easy way to check and then an easy way to get the air out of it? Well, the easiest way to check is to remove the line off of that pump that goes to the DEF injector on the decomp pipe, and then put a piece of rubber hose like 5/16 ID gas line onto the fitting, the barb on the pump, and run it down into either a cup, like a coffee cup, or a container, a graduated container, something clear, something with water, even DEF in it, and then run that after treatment diesel exhaust fluid pressure test for a minute or two and see if there's bubbles coming out. And you should have really just barely see pin bubbles. If you see the bubbles that are the size of the hose coming out, like bloop, 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 that's a serious problem, and the system's never going to run right or prime. So if you remove the line from the injector, a lot of times it takes that pressure off of the pump, and it can actually flow DEF through and pull all the air out of the suction line, and then it will prime the pump successfully, get all the air out of everything. And sometimes you have a problem in the tank, and you have to go after that. Sometimes it's the line itself. There's O-rings inside those fittings that can get flat spots on them, and then that can cause this problem. So you have to just check it out and then figure out what you got to change it. And then once you got clear DEF fluid coming out of it, you hook everything back up. You can do that pressure test. The pump should get very quiet while it's running and the DEF is pressurized. If you have insight, you can hook up and you can go to the after treatment. You can go to the data logger monitor and watch the value after treatment diesel exhaust fluid pressure. And it should sit somewhere between 128 and 133. And it usually will settle down about 132.5 to 132.7 and just stay there. And then you're good to go. Thanks for joining me in Engine Shop Joe. Please subscribe and tell your friends about the channel if it'll help them. See you next time.